And good afternoon, everybody. My name is actually Dr. Faisal. I'm the moderator today. I think they didn't get the message. So I'm from Singapore. I'm the Chief Medical Officer for a primary care medical company dealing with primary care, primarily radiology and a bit of surgical solution. As a new entrant in the space, our medical group is always looking for innovative solutions. And as you have guessed, AI will always feature high up in the list. And so we are here today with a group of very highly experienced professionals, key appointment holders, and business leaders, ready to share their experience. And like you, I'm very, very excited to learn from them. So let's not waste any time, and let's dive into the question about how we integrate AI responsibly, balancing the risk. First of all, maybe I turn my question to Mr. Joseph Laraichi from Acrin Medical. So Joe, tell us about your current service offering from Acrin Medical. Perhaps a bit about what you shared with us earlier on Vision AI and the impact that you see on clinical imaging. Over to you, Joe.
Thank you, Faisal. So basically, at Acrin Medical, one of our best solutions is Vision AI. We help the clinicians in analyzing the medical images, digest also the metadata, and provide a structured outcome to empower the clinicians in taking the right decision. And what it does is basically just help the clinicians in winning time in analyzing this different data. It will never replace the clinician, but empower them with better information. It's like having at your fingertips a set of highly trained eyes that can help you analyze quicker and more efficiently the data that is coming to you. But the final decision is the clinicians to make. So the solution itself analyzes 2D images, and as I said, extract the metadata and provide a structured output of it. But when we talk about responsible AI, it comes with benefits and risks. The benefit is what I just highlighted, but the risk is overthinking that the automation will do everything, which is not the truth. And that's how we have built this solution, basically by integrating the responsible AI into it. And I encourage every company that is developing AI for the healthcare to embed the responsible AI into it. That's how we see it.
Thanks, Joe. I think it's reassuring to know for a practicing physician like myself, we're always worried that we will lose our job to AI, right? So good to know. But I think there's another element in Acrin Medical. You did share with us about developing a surgical platform as a future plan that you have in a company, right? So maybe I think we would want to hear about that, because I think there might be some surgical application of AI as well. Maybe Joe, you can share again.
Yeah, of course. But this is still at early stage development. So we are taking benefit of the AI and what some of our partners are developing, like NVIDIA, to embed these capabilities into a surgery platform, which will empower the surgeon in being more accurate. For example, in the past, I had supported as well a company to develop a back surgery platform. And we know how critical it is to put the screws within the bones in the back and how accurate the surgeon needs to be. But the solution here is only to help the surgeon be more efficient in his surgery. It will never replace the surgeon. It will just empower him to do his job in a better way. So we are seeking, of course, funding from investors for that, and we are at this stage.
Thanks. Right, so funny you mentioned that, because just to share with the audience and also my esteemed panelists, in Singapore there was a recent article released from or about our public hospital, a hospital which actually uses AI to help with complex spinal surgeries. So AI was involved in the pre-surgery stage and even during the robotic application during surgery. And I think there was data locally that states that, you know, with AI, you see an ROI of at least around 20% of reduction in surgery time, and up to even 50% of hospitalization stay reduction. So that is actually tangible benefit that we see from AI, and I think we look forward to such solutions from you as well. Okay, moving on to my second speaker, I think still on the topic of diagnostic imaging, maybe Dr. Sven, please do tell us a bit more about NeoQ and how the AI in your business has impacted the whole scene, and what you see as pitfall or challenges so far in your company.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think before jumping into that question, let's take a half of a step back, because I think what we should do is look at the challenges healthcare has globally. And that's why I think the topic of this panel is so important, because if you look at healthcare provision, you see that you have a huge supply and demand gap. So there is a lot of demand. People are getting older, you know, the aging pyramid, you know, the baby boomers and so on. And on the other hand, less and less people want to work within the medical field and in the medical industry, because you have long education times, you have long working hours, you have work-life balance issues, or life-work balance issues, as the newer generation is actually framing it. So there are many challenges out there as well. And I was at RSNA in Chicago last week and had long discussions with Harvard, with Stanford, with MIT, with Duke, and with Yale, with all the big universities. And they said the amount of students want to study medicine dropped by 15 to 20% within the last 2 years. Within medical imaging, it dropped almost by 40%. And when they start asking the people why is that, they answer, well, AI will take our job anyway, especially in medical imaging in a couple of years. So this might not be fully right, because we just discussed that this is not the truth. However, that's the perception. But of course, by doing so, they make the supply and demand gap even worse. And that's why we, as a company, actually started a couple of years ago, actually in 2016, and there was no AI at the scene at that point in time, and said we need to bridge the gap between supply and demand. We need to use different tools, digital tools, that actually allow the physicians to have a higher throughput without overburdening them. So they need tools, may they be AI-driven or not, to do the work in a shorter time frame. However, they should not interfere with the workflows, and they should not actually make them more exhausting, because that's what you said. I think the whole issue is, especially with AI tools, they are good developed, maybe even have a very good database. However, they will not actually fasten or speeden up the workflow, but actually will slow it down, and that's why adoption rates are very low. So what we did 2016, we started without AI. We developed a tool for radiology reporting, so a little bit what you just mentioned, actually saying the AI, at that time there was no AI, we are not looking at the pictures, we look at the workflow of a radiologist, and 80% of the workflow of a radiologist is doing the reports. And I don't know how it is in your country, I'm from Germany, sometimes it takes 3 weeks until you get your report. It might be faster in some cases, but even be also slower. So what we said, you know, if you look at the workflow, the highest impact you can have is the reporting piece. So average time for a report is 20 minutes today, and it's dictation. And when you look at the reports, it's most of the time a poem. Because every radiologist thinks that Their specific language makes the report special. They're not standardized, they're not machine readable, and they're not structured. So you cannot even compare reports of the same issue, maybe a knee MRI with a normal finding. You cannot compare them because the language is always different. So we wanted to standardize that. We did that. We had built a huge decision tree with 36 million decisions a radiologist can ever take and coded that into a software. And then AI came. So we said, okay, so now we have AI tools, 950 FDA-approved AI tools for radiology. And actually, on the other hand, every AI is basically giving the physician a different format of their results. So a physician needed to start learning what AI is giving out, what result, in what format, and then need to transfer that into their report, and they said, we will not do it. It takes too much time, it's too time consuming, we just need something that's quicker. So we incorporated what the AI result was into the report directly, so they knew where the AI gave input and they could change it, they could amend it, they could even say, I don't want to have it in because I think there's a mistake in it, and so on. So just trying to speed up the workflow. Today, we are able to do the reporting within 1 second because we also switch to your side and we let the AI analyze the pictures and then write the report right away. However, as we said, human in the loop, the AI can be a good co-pilot. However, we need still the physician to actually sign it off. Of course, there is the risk of automation bias, because then the radiologists just rely on the result. However, they are responsible, they are even liable for it, so they need to sign it off. And I think if you are able to integrate AI that way, you act in a very responsive manner.
Thanks, Dr. Sven. Yes, I agree. The sign-off from the radiology as a final approval of the report is most important because they are the ones liable for the report and the safety of your medical center to the patient. Just maybe an offshoot question. All this AI integration, in your experience, did it come with extra cost? And if it does it transfer to the patient?
Okay, I think there are even two questions in that. On one hand, there is, let's say, the cost of integration, because today an AI integration into a RIS or PACS system takes about a year. Maybe it's a bit faster, sometimes it's a bit slower, depending on how structured data the AI is able to actually provide to the PACS or the RIS system. So there is cost definitely associated with that. However, if we look at our times, for an example, when we do the reporting with our software, the CT is about 5 times faster. The reporting for CT is 5 times faster, MRI is 12 times faster. So at the very end, you gain, of course, traction by using our solution, and then you are able to care for more people in a shorter time frame. And then you get basically the kickback at the very end. On the patient side, it's very interesting. I think we need to start even earlier because most of the time the patients are not even informed that AI is being used to analyze their pictures. I think that's something we need to do because otherwise we will not gain trust. But of course, at the very end, and if you explain it to the patient, they know what benefit they can take from it. However, as I mentioned earlier, the integration into the workflows is the issue. And I just had a recent discussion with the Chief AI and Data Officer from the King Faisal Research Center and Hospital in Riyadh. And he said when he started 6 months ago, people were basically throwing tomatoes at him because he wanted to force AI solutions to being implemented and no one wanted it. And now, after 6 months, every week they come with 3 to 4 solutions and say, you please implement it as soon as possible, and he get yelled at if he's not doing it. On the other hand, as we mentioned, integration is so hard. So even if the AI officer says we want to integrate the AI solution, it might take another 9 to 10 months.
Right, so good to know that the tomatoes are safe in Riyadh. Right, so anyway, moving on to something similar around the realm of imaging as well. I think I'm going to direct the next question to Dr. Anna. Anna, you are currently involved in medtech, although your previous training was in orthopedic surgery, as I understand. So it is very interesting how you shared with me in terms of your magnetic resonance therapy devices and how you're having AI being integrated to it to develop treatment and protocol. So maybe let's share that with the audience, and I think we can learn more from you on that aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much also for the valuable input from my esteemed colleagues over there. So speaking firstly of my medical background, the clinical background in the hospital, I can tell tell by experience that it was giving me a hard time because there were so many inefficient processes, like you said, so much time being spent with bureaucratic processes, and so not much time being left for the inherent patient-doctor interaction. So I'm actually quite happy to see that more and more shifting towards that. So I think when it comes to clinical application of AI, you have to differ between therapy on the one hand and diagnostics on the other hand. So we learned already about much implementation options when it comes to diagnosing things. I think within that kind of setup, AI might be an enabler, an accelerator when it comes to optimizing processes and also bureaucratic burden in the medcare world. When it comes to therapy, though, it might be you have to look at different kind of medical specialties, and then I will come back to your question. So yeah, I think until surgeons can be replaced, it's going to take a longer time, even though like robotic surgery might be well supported by AI, and I think already is. When it comes to so-called physical therapies, and I will talk about MBST and this kind of special physical therapy later in my talk. It will help a lot because you have to think about different therapeutic approaches. There's the classical surgical approach, we've got a pharmaceutical approach, and an approach based on physical modalities like shockwave, laser, LED therapy, and I will specify that later in my talk, but when you come to pharmacology, for example, still nowadays, 2025, you have so many drugs available, and if you combine more than 3 drugs, you're not able any longer to see how many interactions occur, for example. Everything comes along with side effects. So AI might be very beneficial when it comes also to therapy, to calculate those kind of complex issues. So lots of potential, I think, in the medical field when it comes to application of AI. And yeah, what my company does actually, it's MBST, and it's part of the family of the so-called magnetic field therapies, or let's say physical therapies. The device is based on MRI technique, but uses more low magnetic fields combined with specific tissue-specific radio frequencies. And the interesting thing is that the device has been on the market for 20 years. It was developed by a German engineer. And now with the help of AI, we can now better understand what the quantum physics behind is. We have very good researchers based in Austria doing the in vitro, the cell studies, which I will specify later as well. So you can imagine it's quite complex science behind that kind of device, even though the devices look quite, let's say, not spectacular. But we've just partnered up with a famous German scientific institution. It's non-governmental. It cooperates with different industries and their specific AI department. And they even got a quantum computer. So our actual idea is to, on the one hand, better understand our therapy, the whole cellular level, to combine it with the complex physical background to support R&D, and also in the end to end up with better therapy for our patients so we can adapt our clinical findings, because now we are able to incorporate all kind of knowledge available in the field of our specific therapy to, in the end, enable or get our patients access to an even more better innovative treatment thanks to AI.
Testing, okay. Thanks, Prof. Hannah. So it is a very interesting solution, and I think you are going to be the keynote speaker after this. So we'll hear more from you. And I think let's move away from radiology. Let's move away from this treatment solutions and talk about what is hot right now in terms of mental health. Right? I'll direct my next question to Dr. Ahmed. Dr. Ahmed, let's perhaps hear from you about mental health and your particular interest in how AI can strengthen the mental health service where you're practicing. Something about Medlex. I believe you are the co-founder of Medlex, and the tools and digital system that aids you in the delivery of this service. So over to you, Dr. Ahmed.
Yeah, thank you, Faisal. So, as we always consider mental health as like a humanitarian part of medicine, so it's like Anna was talking about the very scientific part. We are talking more about humanitarian part. And we know that once people talk about AI, the discussion straight away jump into technology. However, what interests me more, it's about human to start with. So currently nowadays, we all know working in medical field, we know how stressful job is and how it's the tremendous pressure clinicians and people working in the field are under in terms of providing high quality work and the complexity of case, the volume of work, and the expectation from the regulatory bodies as well. So, and here when we think about AI and its role here, and to answer the question, is it actually AI is going to replace doctor, as it was mentioned as a question before? I think this is a very interesting question because we can see people around us start to use like chatbots to get diagnosis and to get even treatment prescription, which is, I don't think this is right. I think AI has got a very, in mental health and healthcare in general, has very strong potential. But it's here, it's not to replace clinician, it's to support and help clinician in terms of consistency, in terms of efficiency, speediness of work, communication, verbal communication, and non-verbal communication like report writing and governance, of course. And this is where the rule come of the AI. So, however, it's as important to think about the challenge that we've been faced by AI. It doesn't come, it's not free of challenge. So AI can be very tricky because it's not neutral. It reflects the bias of the data we imported. So if we are not very careful and we know exactly what we are doing, the data we import will get completely outcome which is not meant to be. So here, it's very important for us when we are thinking about AI to know exactly what we are doing, to know about the governance around it, to know about the ethical dilemma we are dealing with in mental health and medical legal work, and to know how to deal with that. And this is where actually the training and the understanding and the awareness become very important. So I'm going to give you a very quick thing about actually real life experience I've got. And this might explain to you why I'm talking like that. So it's in my early days in my career in training in forensic psychiatry, I used to join and to shadow my supervisor in the court to see how people give evidence, etc. And I came across many senior consultants there going in front of the court and literally shaking because they are not very confident about what they are doing. It's mainly because of is it the system not supporting them? Is it the lack of training? Is it a mix of both? So actually this make me realize it's regardless how good you are as a clinician. However, if you don't have a good training and system in place and tools with you, you might struggle. And this is where it's come to me. It's the need for a platform to use, to integrate AI, because now it's becoming a trend and everybody's trying to use it, and we can't ignore it. So how to use this in a platform to provide training and consultancy for service and for clinicians and for people who are working in criminal justice system to be able to actually get more consistency, efficiency, and more accuracy in the way they are working. Again, not to replace clinical judgment because we can't do this, but to help us to become more efficient in the way in what we are doing.
Right. So from your experience, I mean, I believe you are practicing out of Middle East, right? So your business is in the ecosystem that's different from our first few speakers. What's your challenge in terms of this adoption of AI, especially when we talk about the criminal justice system and dealing with the government, right? Is there any disparity? Is there any challenges that you face, having this on a day-to-day basis with the government? And if yes, how bad is the disparity?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So it's definitely there are challenges, and it's in the Middle East the challenges are a little bit different given the cultural sensitivity and the nature of the place. So overall, there are, as we mentioned, there are challenges of the AI in practice. It's about the ethical ethical, legal, and clinical implementation. In the Middle East as well, because there are lots of things to do, I would say these countries, they are doing very magnificent job in trying to be role model and try to catch up with the latest innovation in medical field and in technology. So this high pace of adopting new technology sometimes becoming very challenging, because you have to adapt to the whole service and the governance and the regulation and the laws around that, and sometimes it's difficult to do that. So now we are talking about implementing AI in mental health service. Where to draw the line, I think this is very important. Because it's very easily to be misused, and again, it's the organization themselves, they've got a reputation they have to protect, okay? And it's being protected by very strong governance and training. And the clinicians themselves, they feel under so much pressure to be able to develop their skills. And some of our colleagues feel it's a bit difficult, it's challenging enough to be a doctor, so not to adapt all this new technology. So here, where it comes to like idea or platform like MedLX to provide this training, to provide this structure for service development, to help people to know how to safely implement technology in practice while considering all the other challenges, and not to be vulnerable to legal consequences.
Right. Yeah, good point. And I think, as everybody will be aware, that I think we are now practicing in different markets, different regulatory requirements, different buy-ins, and different rates of adoption from the government, from regulation bodies, right? So just to share, even from Singapore, the healthcare sector has been talking about AI for quite some time, but from what we see is it started with pockets of sandbox projects that became a bit more nationwide, maybe in mid-2010s. So it's a bit slow in adoption because Singapore is highly regulated, a lot of red tape that we have to go through. So I suppose different markets will have different challenges. But thanks, Amit, for the sharing. So since we talk about the different markets, let's go to the US market now, right? I think my friend Dr. Sridhar is ready to go. So Dr. Sridhar, you are... Testing. Right. So Dr. Sridhar, your vast experience in the US healthcare space, right, in hospitals, healthcare insurances, and pharmacy benefit management. So maybe, in your view, what is the single biggest barrier in healthcare system adopting AI, you think, especially in the US scenario?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thanks all for the audience here, and thanks Health 2.0. Myself, Sridhar, and there is a quick correction here. I'm not a doctor. I am from the technology background, so I'm not a doctor. Thanks Health 2.0 for making me a doctor. It was my dream. And it's a great pleasure to sit between so many doctors here. So on my day-to-day basis, I deal with doctors working in US healthcare. So the work I do is, because I have completed around 20 years of health experience only into US healthcare. When I say only into US healthcare, I've been in services, I have been in product companies as well. So I have helped designing the healthcare products, I have helped designing the solutions and provide services to the US healthcare market. So having said that, the major challenge which I see currently is, I know when it comes to healthcare, there are a lot of rules, regulations you take to any market you serve, right? Singapore, Germany, UAE, or US. We have a lot of regulations. In US, we have very strict regulations where HIPAA, we have the GDPR in Europe, and those kind of regulations. So the challenge which I am seeing currently is because we are talking here about the responsible AI. The team who are working with us, whether it be in our organization or different organization, along with AI, even we have to be responsible for. The reason I'm saying this is when we are talking to our customers who are doctors like this or who are serving the patients, which is impacting the patient experience, which is impacting the cost, the dollars, right? We have to be responsible for providing the solutions. The first thing which we forget, because everybody is now talking about the AI, Gen AI, agentic AI, all AIs, right? People tend to provide solutions on AI without understanding whether that problem really needs AI, whether it is validated with AI, whether that problem can solve the AI. Without understanding this, for example, I'll just take a quick example. There was a nurse case manager. I was talking to home healthcare service providers where the nurse case manager, the head of nurse case manager, the challenge was, hey, I'm doing a lot of training which is costing me a lot of money because people come here, traditional based training and all that, to train the nurse case managers to go to the home care and provide home care services. The person sitting beside me is jumping and saying, yes, AI can do this. And the clinician was like, how can AI do this? Because there are two people talking to each other, the home care man, the patient and the home care nurse manager. Where does the AI come in here? So this is an example where AI should not be force-fit as a solution. That should be the responsible of any of the technologists sitting here to make sure whether your AI solution is solving that problem or not. To be very, see how, we have to be responsible for providing the solutions, whether it is solving the right problem, whether it is increasing the cost or decreasing the cost. As Dr. Ahmed rightly said, operational efficiency is major thing which we have to, because nowadays everybody is tying the automation to the AI, which we usually call it as hyper automation. So that can be a proper thinking, well-defined, see whether the patient is getting benefited. Are you solving the nurse's burden, resolving the nurse burden, reducing the nurse burden? These are some of the things which we have to keep in mind while providing the AI solutions, whether it be US, Europe, Singapore, any market. Keep in mind patients are very much important. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Dr. Sridhar. I think the message here is that you don't have to force feed just because AI is there. I think you have to make sure that it is being implemented at the correct setting, the correct business case, and validated, right? Exactly. I think that's most important. So I think moving on to my last panel speaker, Dr. Sam, still talking about the US market, right? So let's zoom out and take a more all-encompassing view of AI and its application in the various sectors. So I believe TheoSim is a forerunner in this, and I'm really thrilled when I went to your website and I saw the tagline, right? Pioneering AI for everyone. So that's a very all-inspiring tagline. I think it shows the future. So maybe share with us the exciting things that's happening in TheoSim, and what would you, for you, would be the biggest stumbling block that you're currently facing when you want to implement AI in anything?
So first of all, TheoSim is providing solutions at two levels. First level is for professional. We are providing grounding technology for AI. So the AI that you have is trustworthy, explainable, traceable, give you all the citations, and that's by implementing a new kind of technology, not the pure LLM that people are familiar with, like ChatGPT, but additional neural technology, symbolic technology that can go and give you the whole trace of the information. So we are talking about data set that comes from trusted places in the US. One of the major solutions and partner we have is a company that now most of the US healthcare system are using. It's called Open Evidence. And Open Evidence is using partially technology we have developed, but other technologies as well. And of course, the basic of this technology is not only traceability, but trustworthiness of the answer you have. And the destination of these technologies is not the public, because we still believe that human in the loop is very important. We believe in human AI augmentation. And the guardian, let's call it, of the temple will be the doctors, the professionals. So they are the users of these systems. These systems are not open for public. Still, here we need to distinguish between how you are going to use AI. So immediately there is a huge gain in accessibility, and this is what the public wants. They want more accessible healthcare. What's the point of having the most fancier technology and then, like I'm Canadian from Canada, we wait, I don't know, 3 years for a surgery, so it's ridiculously crazy. Some people go to the emergency and they wait 36 hours to get like the initial, is it worthy or to stay in the emergency room or go back home? We had, unfortunately, last year cases where people died in the emergency room without seeing a doctor. This is, in my opinion, more important than just advancing technology just for technology. We need to be accessible. And TheoSim as a company provide at the 2 level. Of course, as a provider for other companies, we don't sell directly to the consumer or the doctors. We provide companies that does that, but also at the level of customer service, at the level of, let's call it agentic AI that will help accessibility in terms of services.
So I think I mean, again, back to what we've discussed is about rolling out responsibly, validated, I mean, AI that's validated by data to gain buy-in and trust, both from the public, the user, and of course, maybe even the government and the regulatory bodies, right? So I think I hear you, and I think that's very exciting sharing. So maybe in the interest of time, we'll open to the floor for any questions that you may have for my panelists. Yeah.
So you, respected doctors, I've been hearing about the responsible AI and ethical AI like that one. Could you please broaden the words? What is the limitations? Why we are taking that much time into that?
So the question directed to anyone?
Yeah, anybody.
Okay.
Anybody. Dr. Srandal also used that one is ethical and then responsible AI like that. Could you please explain and broaden the responsible and AI despite of having a HIPAA compliance and all other compliances?
Okay. Okay. I think what got clear from the discussion today is that responsible AI is a shared responsibility. And I think it starts with the developers or the companies who provide AI solution. It will be the ones who actually want to implement it, so the hospitals or any other institution, and of course the physicians who actually use AI so that they are able to judge the output of the AI. For that, they of course need to be at least trained to understand how the AI works. It should not be a black box. And then of course the regulator behind it to actually give a framework how AI should be implemented. And this, of course, brings us to the fact that we have countries, and Germany is probably one of the most bureaucratic countries in the world that you can find, and we are not using AI at all. I'm over-exaggerating a little bit, but there will be, of course, differences from country to country. So I think the EU AI Act was a good first step, and we see the same frameworks developing in the UAE and also in the United States. But I think we are not there where we are at the moment, because the development of AI is so much faster than the regulators can actually understand what the AI is doing, that this will be kind of like a cat chasing a mouse. So it will be, we have to have more agile frameworks that are being developed to actually cover what AI is doing and how the rapid adoption of AI is actually doing with the industry.
Maybe so. Maybe just to add, I think from my perspective, we are not talking about responsible AI enough, and we don't have an organization regulating properly the use of it in the medical area. So we don't want to have in some of the part of the world people, because of the lack of money going to doctors, starting using Gen AI tools to diagnostic their disease and and try to get the medication by themselves. And that's, I think, it's very important to have these aspects in mind as well.
That was wonderful. Let's all give them a huge, loud round of applause. I think we've learned about the challenges, opportunities, and how we can leverage AI, yes? All right, thank you so much for this wonderful, insightful discussion.